Hey yo, YouTube, welcome back to the channel, Truckers and Trucker Gals Worldwide. It is your boy, your man, your Royals, the often imitated, never duplicated, the one and only Enrique Prince, also known as Prince the Trucker. Once again, thank you guys for being here. I am reporting to you from Lodi, California. It is currently Sunday, January 19th, 2025. 9:30 a.m. Before we get into the topic at hand, I definitely have to take time to say thank each and every one of you, all the new subscribers here, all the returning subscribers, my members, viewers, and folks that are just dropping the like, dropping their comments, sharing their thoughts and or experiences. It definitely means a lot. Please keep the support coming and sharing your stories so that we can continue to interact with one another. With that being said, we're going to get into the topic. If you click the video, you obviously see what we will be discussing, and that is you have to be able to adapt in this trucking industry. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the conversation. You dig? Let's go. Alrighty, YouTube, Prince the Trucker here. As I said in the intro, thank y'all for being here. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I do apologize for not uploading within the last week, but as I stated in my earlier videos, I am out here really putting in the work, so I don't always have the time to choreograph a video or just show you everything that I have going on. But when I do have some downtime, I do enjoy coming back to the channel, sharing the scenery and thinking of topics as the channel continues to develop from the trucking content on things that we could speak about that might be able to help new drivers entering the industry, and or just refreshing and renewing the mind and spirit of the veteran drivers out here. Again, from the title of the video, you can see that I have chosen to speak about being able to adapt in the trucking industry. That's very important. Now, as some of you may or may not know, Prince the Trucker has been OTR, over the road, back in the truck, driving these miles since November 28th, 2024, which is last year. And it is currently January 19th, 2025, equaling to about a month and a half back in the rig, dropping this freight all across the Americas. And I've got to say, up to this point, I'm still feeling pretty good. I'm not experiencing any burnout or driver fatigue. Most drivers opt to go home around the 2-week mark. Some usually try to stick it out for at least 3 weeks, about a month. And then you have your seasoned drivers that usually try to stay out at least 2 months, maybe even 3 or longer, you know. But my plan is to be out 3 months. I will be visiting my mom in the beginning of March to go celebrate her birthday. Shout out to my mama, I love you. And I have about a month and a half left until that time, so I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience out here and how important it is, I feel, to adapt. You know, a lot of times when we look up information about trucking, you got the positive and negatives, as we've spoken about in previous videos. But from my personal experience, being mentally strong and being able to adapt is very crucial, because I feel like there are going to be things out here, when it's good, it's good. You know, when you're able to just go pick up a load and the bill of ladings are in order, your appointment time is what it's supposed to be, you get that load, you head down the road, life is great. You know, but there's going to be days There's going to be times where you can't control things, and the stress of trucking can overtake your goals and aspirations, and it'll try you in ways that you've never been tried before. So as I was saying, YouTube, I literally can name about 5 or 6 stories, because it has been that kind of week of things and situations that have just changed the overall momentum of how I've been running out here. Things beyond my control that have forced me to adapt and stay focused, because mental toughness, being able to be patient, staying in character is very important when you're driving this rig. You cannot allow things out of your control to alter how you feel to the point where you're driving and reacting off emotion. That is very dangerous. But it has been that kind of week for me. So out of all the stories that I could tell you, I'm going to share 2 of the most recent ones that have really just tried my patience. You know what I mean? Okay, so the first example I'm going to share with you was a load that I had to pick up out of Oakdale, California. I'm going to try to give you the short and sweet version. But basically, I had an appointment time at 9 a.m. and I had made it into the general area about 10 miles away from the shipper at about 8 p.m. the previous evening. The only problem that I had was trying to find parking that night in the surrounding truck areas. Anybody knows, driving out here, that trying to find parking at any of these truck stops after 5 p.m. is pretty much a roll of the dice, especially coming out of California where it's so congested. I drove around about 3 truck stops and couldn't find parking to save my life. So I continued a little bit down the road and was able to find somewhere to shut down for the night away from the main street of traffic. No problem. The next morning of my appointment, I wake up. Again, I'm about 10 miles away from the shipper, so I do my pre-trip. I update the company. Everything's good. I tell them that I'm about to pull out. I set the address of the shipper onto my trucking GPS and my Google Maps on my phone. I'm traveling down the road and I get to a point in the route where it tells me to turn right at this stop sign. So I turn right on this stop sign, and you know those S-shaped roads where it's, you know, kind of curves to the left and then curves to the right. I was traveling down a road of this nature, about 35 miles an hour was the speed limit. So I go around the first bend, and as I'm coming around the second bend, I see a set of railroad tracks in front of me. And next to those railroad tracks was a sign that said, "No trucks over 7,000 pounds." So immediately when I see the sign, I'm like, oh crap. You know, that is the trucker's worst nightmare. You never want to be traveling down a route that prohibits trucks, right? It just leaves a bad feeling in your stomach, because you know the further you go forward, the less chance there is of you being able to find your way out of the situation. So once I first identified the first sign, obviously I'm, surveying my surroundings. I couldn't just stop immediately because there's traffic behind me. It's early morning traffic, and I had to keep going forward. There was no bike lane for me to pull off over to and try to attempt any other way out, because the road just continued forward. So I proceed with caution, cross the railroad tracks, no problem. About 10 feet past the railroad tracks, I see the same sign, "No trucks over 7,000 pounds." I look forward, and there's a traffic light about another 40 feet in front of me, which kind of gave me some relief, right? Because as I'm surveying, I'm like, there's my way out. I look, I actually see a sign that says truck route left or right. So even though I had passed 2 signs that said no trucks over 7,000 pounds, there was a way out of the situation. So once I get to the traffic light, it was a red light, and I look past the intersection. the same sign was on the end of the intersection. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, these were 2 warning signs, basically. If you cross over the intersection past the 3rd sign, you're charting into dangerous territory. So luckily I'm at this stoplight. I can make a right and I'll be back on a legal truck route. That was the end of the thought for me. So the light turns green and I make that right at the traffic light. Relieved, knowing that I had found my way out of the situation. Well, that was short-lived because I traveled about 10 feet past the traffic light and all of a sudden I just heard whoop whoop. You already know. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Now, before I go any further, I have to let you guys know, because all this was happening so quick. It happened in a matter of less than 60 seconds. So before I even approached the traffic light to make that right and get back onto a legal truck path, I saw that police Ford Explorer sitting on the right hand side near the traffic light. She was already stationed at the light. In my mind though, I'm thinking it's a 50-50 chance that I can get pulled over here. But with that cop sitting there on this particular route, they probably see this all the time. And I'm thinking that she's there to stop the individuals that cross the intersection past that 3rd sign that I was letting you guys know that I had seen, continuing down the prohibited path. So as I'm making the right, I'm already listening for the siren to see if it goes off and I get pulled over. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm thinking I wasn't gonna get pulled over, just again because I had assessed the situation and got back onto a quote unquote legal route of travel. But nonetheless, like I just explained to you guys and gals, she pulled me over. So of course I'm like, damn, pull over to the side of the road, engage my brakes, throw on those hazards, and prepare myself for this interaction. Now, although I've never been a city policeman or state trooper, anything of that nature, I do have background in law enforcement, having a badge and a firearm. I know what it's like to enforce law and authority. I was military police for the Air Force, better known as security forces, in my military career, and I also worked as an armed guard in my community for several years. So I know the importance of doing your job. I have respect for law enforcement, the job that they have presented before them every day. I'm a professional truck driver, so the key word is professional. I know people have jobs to do, but working in that capacity, I basically was looking to see who I was going to be dealing with, because not every officer is the same. Some people are there to articulate reason and understanding and, judge accordingly. I was hoping through the circumstances that I would get a little bit of that with who I was going to be interacting with. But the moment this lady officer stepped out of her cruiser, I did not feel like that was going to be the case. She stepped out of that cruiser and started walking down the passenger side of my truck. She looked like G.I. Jane, okay? She had the aviators on, chest up, chin up, had this John Wayne walk to her like she just caught the biggest catfish in the pond, you know what I'm saying? So as I'm reading her walking up to my passenger side of the truck, I had the windows rolled down, embracing myself again for the interaction. So she knocks on the door, I unbuckle my seatbelt, I stand up in the middle of my cab, and I introduce myself. I say, "Good morning, ma'am. My name is Enrique. How may I help you?" She didn't introduce herself formally at all. She didn't say, "My name is Officer blah 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 with the county of blah 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 department. The reason I'm pulling you over is because this or that." No formal introduction. Just basically looked up in my cab and said, "License and registration, please." So I was already feeling a little uneasy, but I said, "No problem." Gave her my license, my registration, insurance. And once I handed it to her, she was looking over the documents. So awkward silence for about 5 seconds, right? She goes, "You know you're not supposed to be traveling down this road." I said, "You know, ma'am, I had no idea until I got on it. But, you know, as you're a professional, I'm a professional as well. And I was assessing the situation and basically made a right at this traffic light because it was the only way out of the situation. And now I'm back on a legal truck route, right?" She basically said, "Yes, I understand. But at the end of the day, you're a professional driver and it's up to you to identify what route you can and cannot take before you start traveling." And she's partially correct on that. What I mean by partially is, yes, we are supposed to be able to identify these type of situations and plan properly. But I asked her, I said, "Ma'am, I'm very well aware of that. What would you have done in this situation?" Again, she reverted back to, "That's not my job. You're the professional driver." Just not really having any kind of understanding or articulating any kind of reason. She just basically saw me on the road, said that it was my job to take the proper route, and that's not her problem. So when I asked her, "What would you do, ma'am, in this particular scenario if you recognized a situation and you did your best to correct the action?" She proceeded to say, "Well, there's all kind of apps that you can download these days that make you aware of routes of travel you can't take." And I said, "Ma'am, that's exactly what I did. I have a trucker GPS that's dedicated strictly to trucker routes, and for some reason it didn't pick it up, and here I am. You know, even if I looked on a map, you know, it's not going to be 100% accurate as far as each particular road. I mean, you can't zoom and pinch like you can a lot of these apps and see exactly where you're going. It's not going to work out 100% of the time. But what I did do as a professional was assess the situation, kept everybody safe, proceeded with caution, and corrected the action." And at that point, I think by me telling her that I had a dedicated, you know, trucker GPS, and I actually used her tip, which is there's all kind of apps and things that help prevent this type of situation. I'm using a trucker GPS, ma'am, and it still brought me down here. My big thing is, how do I correct the action and you still want to cite me for disobeying a regulatory sign, which I didn't disobey. I got out of it. And once again, she made it personal because as I was talking to her, when she went back to her cruiser to run my information and I guess start to write this citation, you know, I had a Black and Mild in my ashtray in the front seat. So I lit my Black and Mild, was waiting for about 5 minutes. You know, it was a nerve-wracking situation. It all happened within a matter of 60 seconds. I had an appointment time at 9 in the morning, and I've never really been in this type of situation, right? Like, I've never been cited. So it was a little overwhelming, but I kept it calm, and I kept it professional, and I kept it respectful. But as I was speaking to her and I had my Black and Mild lit, I'm standing in the middle of my cab, keep in mind. She's standing on the outside passenger window. She proceeded to say, "Listen, I'm not going to sit here and chill with you while you smoke your cigarette in front of me. Either you sign the ticket or we're going to take you into custody for refusal to sign." So I'm like, wow, like, ma'am, at the end of the day, that wasn't necessary. You know, I haven't disrespected you. I haven't come at you unprofessionally. I acknowledged what you were saying. And again, I'm a person of reason. In law, you have to be able to articulate beyond a reasonable doubt of why this situation occurred. And you're not even trying to understand the situation. So at that point, with her throwing low blows and jabs, I wanted to be disrespectful. I wanted to be unprofessional. I wanted to get out of character because she was using things in the scenario to basically belittle me as a person. And Long story short, I ended up just saying, you know what, ma'am? No problem. You're threatening me with taking me into custody and coming at me like I'm a child and I'm a grown man. This is the problem with civilian and police relations, is what I told her. I said the way that you're coming off is like you're angry, and just as dangerous as your job is, and you guys are misunderstood for the effort that you put in, I feel the same way here. You know, a mistake was made. I used the proper instruments. It misread the situation, but I was still operating in a professional manner. Didn't put anybody's safety at risk, and I was able to correct the action, and you're still being rude. So I just signed the ticket, wished her a happy day. I told her, hey ma'am, you know what? I hope you have a great day. She said the same thing. I hope you have a great day too. And she left. Now, if you made it this far into the video and you can appreciate the experience shared or resonate with the story told, please make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment, a question, or share your own experience where you've dealt with a situation that challenged you to adapt and continue with the mission going forward. We're already about 30 minutes into this video, and I would like to share the second example, but we'd be here for another 20 minutes. If you guys would like me to share more stories like this, just again, make sure you hit that like button. Let's see if we can get over 30 likes on this particular perspective. And I wanted to share this with you though, because being able to adapt to things that you can't control is very important, especially for new drivers coming into the industry. Again, you could do everything right. You could have 2 great weeks, you know, 1 great week, a whole month and a half. But every day presents new challenges, new situations, and it's important that you're able to adapt. It's important that you stay professional even when other people choose to be unprofessional. It's important that you stay open-minded and mentally sharp so that no matter what happens, you're still able to complete the task at hand. You're going to be driving all over these interstates. You're going to be faced with all type of mental stresses. You're going to be faced with people trying to test your character, and this comes with the territory. You know, instead of arguing with the lady, doing her job, I understand that I'll have my day with the proper entities to be able to articulate my reason for what happened, and we move on. You know, I didn't want to become emotional, and I suggest you don't either, because you still have a job to do. And when you become emotional, you open up the gateway to make irrational decisions and become a risk to yourself and the people around you. So I just wanted to highlight the importance of being able to adapt to being out here on this road, remaining professional, remaining respectful, and controlling the things that you can control, because that is ultimately going to take you a lot further than situations that could potentially take you out of doing the thing that you love to do every single day. So be grateful, start every day with a sense of purpose, remain professional, and don't take any shortcuts. Accountability is key. I want to thank you guys for spending time here. I hope I see you in the next video. Again, remember to hit that like button, drop your comments, questions, experiences. I'm about to get back on this road soon, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. It is the often imitated, never duplicated, the one and only Enrique Prince, also known as Prince the Trucker. Stay safe, be blessed, see you in the next one.